back for another video. My name is Josh Kasich, and today, this is, I don't know what I'm going to title it yet. Probably something, the Endgame re-release, extra footage, something like that. So I'm going to be discussing that. If you already seen the Endgame re-release, you probably already know about this. Then, of course, if you haven't, you might have already seen a video on it. But, here we go. This is what I'm saying. So, basically, the Avengers, when it first released, it wasn't able to beat Avatar. It became the second most grossing movie on its own. So, there's that. But it couldn't be Avatar, which Avatar has been the most grossing movie of all time since 2010. Yes, it was released in 2009, but it was re-released in 2010. So therefore, it has been 10 years. It's been 9 years, not 10. But basically, the people at Marvel decided to release Endgame the same year so that they can beat Avatar. I would think it might have been a better option to wait a year, maybe. I think it was a little too soon, especially since Spider-Man was coming out. It was a little weird for them to do that, and not only that. You also have what you call it. Well, not only so and the footage, the re-release footage could have been much better because I feel like it was rushed. To be honest with you, I think it was rushed, and I think if they re-released it just another year, actually took the time to think about what extra footage they should add to this, I think it would have done a lot better, and I think a lot of people would go to the theaters because, like, the first weekend that it was re-released, people are already gone on YouTube messaging that the extra footage is mediocre at best, and I think that's what hurt the sales, is that people didn't want to take the time just to watch a re-release with footage that isn't necessarily that good or that surprising, but I saw Spider-Man first. I saw Spider-Man first before I saw Endgame release. I just saw it. I saw it Saturday with my dad. It's only in special theaters like AMC theaters, so it's expensive, but we saw like the morning one, so it's cheaper in the morning, obviously, but there's that though. So it's the only thing I find. The extra footage was nice, don't get me wrong. I think the best thing was this is my second time seeing Endgame after a while. So for me, I find that enjoying, especially on a bigger screen, because the first time we saw it was at the Elk Grove Theater, and not even, I feel like this time around seeing Endgame, it was much better feel, because the first time it was packed, and we had to sit all the way in the front, so our heads were like this, watching the movie. This time we didn't, so that was also pretty good. You might say that, you could even get the nice, you got the reclining chairs. Unfortunately, our chairs did not work. They couldn't recline. But the chairs are at least more comfortable than the ones, than the ones in Avengers. Now, what's interesting is that basically now at the Elk Grove Theater, they replaced in 4 theaters, they got recliners now, and I think the theater that we saw Avengers Endgame in, I think, I could be wrong, is one of those theaters that has the recliners now. But other than that, but now, although we didn't get to recline, I think the comfy seat, the bigger screen, I think is just that. I think we got our money's worth for extra. So And but let's see. Let's talk about the extra footage here. So first, it's really a Stan Lee tribute, which was really interesting. You know, you got to see Stan Lee being really happy on sets and doing these cameos and talking about how, you know, not in a million years did I ever thought I would be here making these movies right now, or being a cameo in these movies, characters that I created, except for Captain America. He did not create that, but he created most of the famous characters you could think of: Iron Man, Hulk. I mean, all those he helped create. So he even created the most popular superhero and the most money, most toy, and most anything Spider-Man ever. So obviously, so it's pretty cool. Then it had a Hulk deleted scene. Oh, by the way, if you haven't seen Endgame yet, I'm going to talk about the deleted scene. So if you don't want to you don't want to hear any spoilers from the extra footage, please leave there's definitely going to be that. The Stan Lee tribute, I don't think is that spoilery. I mean, obviously, I think they were going to do something like that. It was kind of announced. Kevin Feige talked about that. Definitely there would be Stan Lee. So they talked about that before the movie. So I think that's obviously something you guys, if you keep up with me, you should know. But sorry about that. There was a lighting problem. So where was I? So yeah, I'll give you some time to leave. If you don't, I probably should have discussed that earlier before talking about the Stan Lee, but I'll give it to you now. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1004, 1005, 1006, 1007, 1008, 1009, 1000, 10, 1000. Okay, that might be a little fast, but you have enough time to leave if you don't want to see any of that. So the deleted scene. Basically, the deleted scene is about Professor Hulk, kind of saving people from a fiery building. However, they decided not to finish the CGI on the Hulk, so it looks kind of weird. Like, that's what I mean. I think if they didn't rush this re-release, they could have added the CGI and stuff. I'm not sure if they were going to, but in the first place, but I think it just looked nicer if they did, you know. Sorry about that, another lighting problem. But I say it could have been much better. However, I'm not sure. I think a better Hulk deleted scene, if it's a deleted scene, I don't know if they even filmed that, but how Bruce Banner became, and Hulk fused to become Professor Hulk. That's what I want to know. Because I feel like it's the same thing in Infinity War. It just happened. And like, what I mean by something in Infinity War just happened was basically it was a line drop that basically Thanos just attacked the Nova Prime, that's what the planet's called, to get the orb, but we don't actually see footage. We don't see any of him actually attacking it. It's just dropped, and that's kind of annoying, right? And if there's, I think Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is going to explain that. However, why wouldn't the Guardians get notification of that? Well, not notification, probably not the type of word, but know, like, a distress signal and help out, you know? You didn't hear anything about that, so that's a little weird that they picked up the distress call of Thor, but nothing about Nova Prime. I find that kind of weird. I know the third Guardians of the Galaxy is probably going to discuss some of, possibly, maybe not, but I would think they would at least explain, or discuss exactly what happened on Nova Prime, like in details and stuff. But it's like, I wish we could actually see what actually happened instead of having a huge time jump or a huge just time thing. We don't even see it. It's kind of the same thing here. We just 5 years later, there's a lot of things we are missing, and I wish there would be some explanation of how, like, they just, I just made this work. It wasn't really explained in details. It just happened, right? Well, of course, a lot of things to the characters just happen. Like, for instance, Captain Marvel getting a haircut. Although I don't think that's really a part. We don't need to explain that. I'll just give you an example. For instance, I don't know if Tony. Okay, another thing is that we don't see Tony Stark and Pepper Potts wedding, and all of a sudden he has a child. I know that basically he talked about Morgan in Infinity War, but they weren't even married yet. They weren't having that, and so she wasn't. Well, they were having whatever. You know what I mean. So that she wasn't pregnant. So obviously, I don't know, how old did they say she was? Because there's no way she was exactly 5, because there has to be some, to say it was 4. Forgot how old she actually is in the Endgame, but, so yeah, there's that, and, but I think at least it's better explained, but you guys, there's a lot of, footage, there's a lot of, there's probably the time jump is that there's a lot of details that are going to be left out that I would like to explain. Like, I mean, if you're doing world building, you want something like this, and unfortunately, on a movie like the movie franchise, and you have multiple movies, some details are going to be lost, and there's probably nothing. They're not going to go back and do that. It's not like it's Star Wars or anything like that, where, for instance, when the movies came out before Disney bought it, you have what Legends are now, but you have books explaining details that the movies didn't, or that you have books explain what is going on between the time jumps between the movies. This Marvel franchise, although they do have some books like that explaining a little bit here and there, it's not like Star Wars where they're having people write stuff to explain, right? So we'll never get those details, most likely, not in full things, like what actually happened in between 5 years. Now, however, for instance, in Star Wars, most of those books are Legends now, but Disney's still doing what Legends were. They're basically still making books to explain the time gaps between things, and so in that way, it's still interesting. You get to find details, different stories. That's another cool thing. Like, these other books kind of follow other characters. I mean, too, and that's also interesting. Like, I've been at the end of last school year, I was listening to a lot of audiobooks, and I really like this one called The Lost Stars, and I want to listen to a sequel to the book, but that book hasn't come out yet, because it's like you have the action of Star Wars, but you also have kind of a relationship, kind of love going on too. And I don't know, I just really enjoyed the book. I really enjoyed the story and stuff. But, basically, with Marvel, they're just movies or / TV shows. And there's a lot of details that are missing. Now, I think Marvel, another problem with Marvel so far with creating these stories, creating a world building, is there's also lost connections, because, like, you have, okay, so obviously the movies have to, movies about one character, for instance, have to, kind of point to that character. Has to be, that character has to save the day. but it doesn't make any sense if it has some huge level a villain kind of wanting to ruin the world or wreck something, or having this huge like Avengers level threat, yet only one hero is dealing with it. It just doesn't work well. That's one problem. Like, they don't really think about that. Like, for instance, I think that's one of the problems with Spider-Man, is that they have to keep the movie self-contained, yet they kind of went overboard on the villain. Don't get me wrong, the Mysterio itself can be taken out by Spider-Man, no problem. But the fact that no one knew that, besides Spider-Man, that you have these huge level threat monster, it's just an illusion, attacking the planet, and you're telling me there's no other Avengers that's going to come out and help? And obviously, they were in Britain. Okay, Marvel wants eventually. Here's the problem. Another problem I'm going to explain with Spider-Man is that eventually you get eventually they want to introduce Captain Britain, or the British version of Captain America. There's one little problem about that, though. Unless Captain Britain is just created during that time period after all the movies, it depends on how they take the route, but the only way they can make it work now is if Captain Britain is created after Spider-Man, that he became a new hero after that, because literally Spider-Man is in Europe. He was battling in London, actually. The final place talks battle in London. Why wouldn't Captain Britain do something about that? You know what I mean? That's one problem with Marvel, is that that's one problem with Marvel. Another problem I have is that the shows, too. That you have, for instance, S.H.I.E.L.D. You have this huge level, just this season right now. This sixth season we're watching right now. There's this creature going around destroying planets, or it's not a creature, but it's destroying planets, and it's coming to Earth to destroy the planet. And only agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. deal with it? You can see what I mean. The problem with that is, like, it's just, Marvel wants to world build, and they somewhat are doing a good job, but they're not. There's a lot of world building that they aren't doing, that they really need to have something make sense, okay? But that's another thing. But I'm going off a tangent here. I went off a tangent, so let me get back to where were we? The last thing of the extra footage is kind of what I said was kind of ruined, I guess, by seeing Spider-Man first, is because it was a Spider-Man kind of I guess it was promote Spider-Man or something like that, except for the fact that that Endgame re-release came around the time that Spider-Man first came out, so that really doesn't mean anything. And since we saw Spider-Man first, this is why it's not good. Because the Spider-Man promotional thing, footage in Endgame is literally the beginning of Spider-Man. It's literally the beginning of Spider-Man. No joke. It's literally the beginning of Spider-Man. So, yeah. That, since I saw Spider-Man before this, it doesn't really mean anything. But other than that, like I said, I really, the footage was mediocre. The Stan Lee was good. The lead scene could have been better. Spider-Man just did nothing. But I think I enjoyed the re-release because I got to see it on a bigger screen, less crowded, and more comfy seats. So I think that's why I like it more, but that's really up to you. If you guys saw Endgame first in the AMC theater, the reasons why I like the re-release would not be the same for you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did, and if you're new, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can notify from my next upload. My YouTube channel website link is down in the description as always, and thank you. Goodbye.